hanged, drawn, and quartered. Now let's talk to whom and why this most heinous of punishments was administered. Well, the answer is almost always the same, and that would be for, quote, high treason. Interestingly, though, this practice finally ceased in 1783. This prescribed punishment remained officially on the statute books until 1870, before it was finally abolished. We'll also point out here that the handful of women convicted of high treason over these long and bloody centuries did not suffer the same as the lads, as they were merely burned to death at the stake as a show of, quote, decency. Inevitably, most of those that were ultimately drawn and quartered came from the upper classes, and sometimes, as we'll see, the nobility itself. Leaders of the Catholic clergy were also frequently targeted due to the intensity of the religious wars that raged on endlessly during this period, and this included the notorious Guy Fawkes, who will join this show later. Let's start with the first official known case of being hanged, drawn, and quartered, and that was Dafydd ap Griffith, and this occurred on the 3rd of October in 1283 at Shrewsbury along the Welsh-English border. A trial proceeded, and he was convicted of, again, high treason, the first person known to have been found guilty of a crime by that name. On October 3rd, the day of reckoning came, and he was ingloriously tied to the tail of a horse and dragged through the streets of Shrewsbury to the gallows. All the Tarantino gore follows, and during the entrails part, it was read aloud that this punishment was a result of, quote, his sacrilege in committing his crimes during the week of Christ's Passion, that being Easter, and that when quartered, it was justice for plotting the king's death. He was born around 1270 in Elderslie, just outside Glasgow, and little is known of his parentage or childhood. Following a brief trial, Wallace was convicted and soon after dragged by a horse, this time to Smithfield, where all the naughty and nasty things we don't need to repeat were applied to him both during and after death. His head was dipped in tar and placed on a spear at the Tower of London, where it rotted for many years. And this would be none other than Guy Fawkes, the promulgator of the notorious gunpowder plot in the early 17th century. Unsurprisingly, all were condemned to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. 4 days later, on January 31st, Fawkes and 3 other plotters, Robert Keyes, Ambrose Rookwood, and his old sailing buddy, Thomas Winter, were taken to what would be the killing ground. But in an ironic final twist, he suddenly lurched forward and the rope snapped his neck, killing him instantly, and thus saving him from watching and enduring the further indignities that would come soon after.
Well-hung history. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a killer review. New episodes drop regularly.